Kia ora, g'day, welcome back once again here with part 4 of my reaction to Tim Kennedy with his friend Brian, whereby he is apparently coming clean on all the claims that have been made. And I don't know at this stage if he has actually come clean. It seems like there's been more, dare I say, excuses, reasons, his take, his perspective as to why he's said and or written certain things in his book, Scars and Stripes. So I don't know if we're actually getting answers or things are being called out for what they are by and large, which there seems to have been a lot of lies made in his book. So anyway, let's jump into this and see where we land.
15 years of memory of a war. Imperfect. Yes. Fog of war real. Absolutely. Emotional. Kicking off that troops in combat, that gunfight was an IED where I'm like the next vehicle in. So first vehicle gets absolutely destroyed with, I think, everybody in that vehicle dying. I'm the next vehicle behind that. Like bell rung, absolutely messed up. And the next, few days of us continuing to be in a tick, incredible work by the guys I was with.
Wait, so they're in a troops in contact for days? Is that right? Is that what he's saying? Let me go back.
Few days of us continuing to be in a tick.
To me, that's what it sounds like he's saying. Unless he's saying over the next few days they got into various troops in contact, like contacts with the enemy. But even that sounds real vague. It sounds to me like he's saying they've been in troops in contact over several days. I don't know. I mean, that is, maybe anything's possible, right? But is that what he said? Is that true? Like, I don't know.
Incredible work by the guys I was with. And I tried to remember in the best detail that I can everything that took place there. A lot of guys that were, because I was with the Czech Special Forces guys, and I was spending most of my time with them. So when the ODA would go and do stuff, who I was not attached to, I was not on their team. That was an amazing team sergeant, absolute studs on that team. I'm not going to contradict what they remember, but I'm also going to be like, man, I remember that busted up girl. I remember taking care of her.
It's strange. I mean, I think on the last reaction that I did, the one may have been just before this one, I could have sworn he said he didn't remember. Like when he was asked about the girl that he was holding and praying with or something. I'm sure he said he can't remember. But then he did say or share what he did say he remembered. And now he's back to this is what he remembers. I mean, I don't know. It just sort of brings a lot of stuff into question for me. Was he the second vehicle when he speaks about the first vehicle getting whacked by the IED and tragically, sadly, everybody in there he thinks died? Was he really the next vehicle? Was he really the next vehicle closest to? Or was he right at the back in another vehicle nowhere near where that vehicle was? I mean, it makes it hard for anybody, I think, that has invested any of their time or their money into purchasing any of Tim Kennedy's stuff, or indeed his book, Scars and Stripes, and going through and reading it. And now all of the stuff that's come out from other members of the SF community, members that were on these particular tasks, him now coming out, it doesn't sound like it's, it doesn't sound like somebody that's you could easily believe or feel comfortable believing the words coming out of his mouth and accepting them as true. I think everybody's going to have the back thought in their mind or in the back of their mind thinking, yeah, I don't know. I'm sitting here listening to this guy, but I don't know if what he's saying is true. And so he's brought it on himself, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know where to go from there, but okay. That makes sense. Finally, the famous one.
No, that doesn't make sense. I mean, yeah, I guess I'm probably struggling to know where to go as well. But Brian, Tim Kennedy's friend, Brian, the last part that he said, that makes sense. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't make sense. The ODA, I think that's another part. I think in other aspects, maybe not in this interview, but maybe in his book, I think maybe he mentions that he was part of the ODA. And turns out he wasn't at all, and he's acknowledging that. Somebody put a comment on one of these reaction videos. Notice how Tim always deflects and praises and acknowledges all the other people and the stuff, and that the other guys or people that were part of that patrol or that work, and how great they were, etc. And they put classic deflection tactic or technique. Yeah, interesting, eh? Like the whole bunch of other people out there that are watching these sort of videos. I'm not talking about my reaction, but just the videos with Tim Kennedy and other people. Lots of experience out there, lots of people that are assessing and making, forming opinions, dare I say judgments. That's what I do anyway, a lot of the time. And then voicing or adding their 2 cents. Some people, some of us are quite happy putting our face on the camera and giving our 2 cent take. And other people, again, are comfortable typing away on the keyboard. Either one is fine, I think. Just depends on what you're doing, what you're into, and or what you're interested in, and or not interested in. Anyway.
Hand grenades, tactical details in combat. Did claims or implications about carrying large numbers of hand grenades, dozens, or referencing 50 in a backpack? It's a lot of hand grenades.
That's not a lot of hand grenades.
No. Although, again, if you know you, I can see you being like, 50 hand grenades in my bag.
I had all the grenades.
All the grenades. Yeah,
all the grenades and all the magazines that I could fit into a bag went into a bag. It's called a speedball.
Yeah, or the specific tactical equipment details during deployment reflect reality, or were they exaggerated according to peer accounts? There were a lot of people who were there who contested what happened, right?
Yep.
Is that kind of how this
A few of them,
out? Yeah. And it turns out that their suspicions were confirmed in.
He says a few of them. I'm guessing it's probably because those that haven't contested what he's said is probably because that's by and large, I assume that's what Tim Kennedy was probably banking on when he wrote his book and comes out and says the things that he says, because probably a number of those guys he likely knows and or he thought he knew would never come out and say anything anyway. They'd just be like, that guy can do whatever, say whatever it is that he wants to try to puff his own chest or whatever. Whereas, there probably were some guys in there that are like that, who are just that, literally, the genuine, silent, quiet professional. Don't worry about bringing anything up. Like trying to get blood out of a stone, even if you're talking to them, even if they've got friends that know them. But if they're outside that space of where they work, they likely don't open up to them at all or very much. And then there's probably guys that were within the team that maybe Tim didn't bank on, who would look at it and go, well, no, that's not what happened. And so then they come out and they contest it, challenge it. And and I guess that's what's led to these sort of things happening with Tim Kennedy, him feeling like he needs to come out and says address all the claims. I don't know if he's addressed all the claims.
Most of this. There wasn't 50
some
grenades.
No, it was like, I don't know how many grenades were in there.
Yeah.
I don't know how many magazines were in there.
Yeah.
But when you're packing a speedball, you're putting as many grenades and magazines into that bag as you can get in that bag and carry. 50 grenades is a lot of grenades.
Yeah.
Is that too many? Is that number unrealistic? Yes.
So I'm a little bit.
It's good that he's at least said that. Like, that's 100% unrealistic. I don't know of anybody grabbing a bag, filling it up. Speedball is an interesting term. That must be an American term for their, I don't know what they call that. Well, obviously they call it a speedball, one or the other. 50 grenades. That's just trucking ridiculous. Running around with a bag full of 50 grenades in a team of, I don't know how many people are in his team. But again, he's got time and space as he's writing this book. And I just wonder to myself, is he writing clearly he wasn't writing a fiction book. He was writing a non-fiction book. So you would think with that time and space, with writing a non-fiction book, striving to give as accurate an account as you can of your experience and some of the work that you've done, that you would want to get that right before you get ripped to shreds by those that were actually there on the ground. Anyway.
Less concerned with number. I think that I'm almost, and also like the Iranian freedom fighters, when you're a young E6, whatever those guys are, maybe they were, maybe they weren't. I don't know. I think that the largest thing that, I've taken from this is that you did, that the criticism is founded. You've lost a lot as a result. Yeah. I could have told you that was going to happen, because you can't write a book about your combat experience. Again, it was a very good book. Again,
I don't know how you can sit there and say, I haven't read it, obviously, but I don't know how anybody could sit there, even a friend, and say it's a very good book, if said friend here, in this case, Brian, knows that it's full of lies. You know what I mean? Maybe he means it's a good book if it was fiction. Maybe he didn't finish his sentence or something. But yeah, I don't know how anybody, friend or not, could sit there and say it's a very good book when you know it's just riddled with lies. Maybe it's just me.
And I know you, I know who you are, but you can't write a book about your combat experience and have embellishments, lies, exaggerations. You're just not allowed to do that. And if you do that, the internet will find out.
Yeah.
And you get crushed. And you did get crushed.
Yeah, I got bodied.
And you got bodied. And I would have told you, and I would tell you now, that is deserved.
Yeah.
As much as I love you, sorry, brother. It's like you tried to put Superman's cape on and you got bodied. Yeah. And I believe that, one of the things about life is that when we are arrogant enough to think we can get away with people by writing a book and profiting from it, we're going to get bodied. And that's just your lesson.
So that's interesting. So by getting bodied with regards to writing a book and profiting on it, because, unless the author of a book is giving 100% of the funds received from the book to a charity or to someone or something else other than them, I've got no problem with people writing books and doing whatever it is that they need to do for profit to get ahead. I mean, we all want to make money. Like, let's be serious. But with regards to Tim Kennedy's book and the lies that are in it, does getting bodied mean, obviously it means he got caught out, but does it mean that by getting caught out, he's got to give, or that he's given all the money back, the profits from the book? Like, how does that work? Does it get removed off the shelves by the bookstores and whatever other places have been stocking the book? Do the individuals get a full refund for their investment in the book? Then again, how do you give a full refund? If they've then sat down, taken the time to read it, et cetera, you can't get that time back. And, Tim would be bankrupt, I think, if he was then expected to and had charges brought against him for whatever else additional. But I think it'd be fair and reasonable enough that people that have purchased the book should at least get a full refund on that. What does that mean? Like, is that what's happened to Tim Kennedy? I don't know. I haven't dug into it to have a look. But if people know, feel free to whack it in the comments.
Yeah, it's a good lesson.
It's a good lesson. And one of the things that I love about you is that I genuinely know your heart, and I know you're a good person. I also know you're a bad motherfucker. And this is part of Is this
the growth journey?
It is, dude.
Great. This was fun.
It is. You get that part of what's important. God's fire feels like hell.
Yeah.
It's just a real interesting character, man. As I sit here and listen and look at Tim, and is this the growth journey? Oh, this is fun. So I guess that's I want to say good thing from his mentality of being able to, unless it's just a blinking, was it facade? Unless it's just a disguise, and he's not really feeling that good about it. But I want to say it seems like potentially a good mindset for at least Tim Kennedy to have if he's in the headspace of, is this the growth journey? Okay, it's been fun. But, at the same time, it's not fun's not the right word for the next part that I'm trying to describe. It's not. I think the word I'm looking for maybe is it's not appropriate for those that have, I presume, invested a lot of time and trust into somebody like Tim Kennedy. That's probably where I'm going with it. For them, I could only imagine they'd feel deeply hurt. They'd feel probably disgusted. I would, if it was me, if I'd invested a lot of time in watching Tim Kennedy and listening to him speak and hanging off every word and thinking, oh man, this guy's done so much stuff, and then buying his book, I would feel, dare I say, betrayed. They'd probably feel betrayed. So, I don't know, maybe Tim's just got an ability to absorb that, process that, and move on with a smile on his face, knowing that he's deceived a heck of a lot of people, it sounds like, who have put a lot of faith and trust in him. But much like, I suppose, what's his name, the Liver King, like that guy has deceived a heck of a lot of people that went out of their way to buy his product, to consume all his content, to hang off every word that he was saying, and then try to live the type of life that the Liver King was living, only to discover that he was on a ridiculous amount of steroids every month. So, I mean, I don't, yeah, like coming back to Tim Kennedy, sort of similarities there in terms of what I'm trying to speak about. Maybe they're not relevant similarities, but the point where I'm going from a physical perspective, they're not. But the point of where I'm going is in terms of the audience, the following that he has cultivated and developed, who likely are still probably pretty loyal to him, I would imagine, like this guy, Brian, which is fair enough. But there's a big responsibility there, I think, or not I think, there's a massive responsibility there for anyone who has an audience or has engaged with people and put themselves out there and speaking about certain things, whether they're coming across as an expert or whether they're coming across as whatever, blinking, just spitballing reactions like what I do. I feel there's a responsibility there to be as honest, as genuine, and as authentic as you can at all times throughout the process of whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're on camera or off camera. Yeah, that's just where my head goes anyway. But it seems like Tim, I want to say maybe he hasn't processed all of that, or maybe he has. And like I said, he's just wired differently and can just move on with a smile quite quickly or whatever. I don't know.
It burns away all the dead wood that you built a foundation on. And that's kind of the lesson is you spend your whole life doing everything that you can because we're ambitious, type A, successful motherfuckers. And you do everything you can to get ahead because it's so hard. And then you do a couple things. You go, I'm going to push it.
What's it saying? And then you puck one goat, and then you're a goat pucker. Crack up. Interesting there, listening to what Brian's saying. Alpha, what do you say? Class alpha types or whatever. You want to get ahead, do whatever you can to get ahead. I'd like to think that people, everybody's looking to get ahead in their own way in terms of whatever that looks like for them, whether that's from a materialistic perspective, financial perspective, business perspective, client's perspective, the list goes on, followers perspective, subscribers, etc., etc. But ultimately, looking to move in a direction that enables yourself or individuals the ability to generate income, to generate, dare I say, wealth, so that you can be comfortable, so that you can look after yourself and loved ones, friends, extended family members, and look to help other people as and where and when you can. Like, I think I think if everybody could do that, and I like to think everybody strives to do that, and well, probably that's not the right word. Probably everybody does do that in their own way and within their own means. That's probably a more accurate way of describing it. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But I think, coming back to what Brian's talking about, I think when you're in the process, or if you're looking to do something like that, I like to think you're genuinely looking to do it from a place that is not only good, but that is honest. That has integrity to it, that yeah, it's rough around the edges. It's not pretty. It's not perfect, or it's not always pretty. It's not always perfect, but it's honest. It's done with good intent, and it's honest, I think, is probably the main thing of where I'm trying to go with it. As soon as you step into that space of being disingenuous, being deceitful, flat out lying, in order to still try to chase the wealth or whatever it is, which again, there's nothing wrong with chasing wealth, I don't think. There's nothing wrong with chasing financial growth, whatever you want to call it. I think that's a good thing. Like, everybody wants to make money, right? Well, I know I do. And pretty much everybody else that I know wants to make money. Hence why the vast majority of them get up, go to their job each day. Some of them get up, go to a job that they don't like, etc. But I think that's a normal thing to do. Oh, the sun's starting to come through, which is a good thing. But if you're not doing it, I think, especially in the social media space, if you're not doing it honestly and or being authentic in regards to who you are and how you do things, then I think that's where, you know, you let it, not only yourself down, you let a heck of a lot of people down, and you lose the trust and credibility, and people just aren't going to continue to, you know, to follow you anymore, I think. Or maybe not. Maybe maybe some of the same people that feel let down, maybe they're still following Tim Kennedy. I don't know.
A little here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna exaggerate. I'm gonna lie. I'm gonna embellish. I'm gonna tell a fish story. I'm gonna consolidate all these things that happen. And it's like, no, you aren't.
Yeah.
I'll
And
tell you what, you're gonna pay for that with interest.
Yep.
Because you ain't getting away with that. But look, 45 years, good run. And now here we are.
Yep.
But this is part of what matters more is your soul. What matters more is who you are after this. What matters more is who are you now that the fire has burnt all the dead wood out. My opinion is it gets you closer to the truth. It brings you closer to who you're supposed to be. Yeah. And I've spoken a lot here, and I apologize. I've spoken a lot, guys. I've been talking too much, but I think it was important for me to at least hold your feet to the fire. And I hope I've done.
Don't worry, Brian. I've spoken heaps as well. What I just heard him say it was important for him to hold his feet to the fire. I guess how much time is left? I'll probably look to wrap this one up here. It's an interesting comment I just heard Brian say, holding his feet to the fire. I don't know that he's held Tim's feet to the fire. Oh, maybe he has. I mean, he's called him out for lies, saying you can't do that. I would have told you, no, you can't do that, etc., etc. But at the same time, as you and or I assume would expect, I've also heard Brian, I guess to a degree from what I'm hearing, try to justify Tim's comments and or his behavior through saying he's hyper, like, this is the best whatever it is in the world, or you're the best, he's the best person. There's no middle area. It's just all or nothing in one direction. So that to me is nice, I suppose, from a friend perspective. Not necessarily nice for me, but must be nice for Tim to know that he's got a friend in Brian who, is looking to call him out on stuff and hold him to account, or looking to try to, dare I say, get the truth. But when we're not getting the truth, it feels like we're not getting all the truth. The words and stuff that Brian has used, and the positivity, which again is nice from Tim's perspective. And it's, I could imagine it must be very nice having a friend that's still going to be in your corner and have your back, even though it's been proven that all your lies and stuff, or the stuff that he's told, what do they say? Embellishments, exaggerations, inaccuracies, fish stories, essentially lies. Fog of war, I think, was another term that's been used. Those things, when they've been proven, and I think that's why this video has come out, is because there's actual evidence from other people that have called Tim Kennedy out on his military record, his deployment record, the stories in his book, like the grenades and that sort of stuff. I'm interested to see if they get to the unliving of women and children on a sniper task or something like that. I'm sure I've heard or seen snippets like that on the Sean Ryan show, where Tim Kennedy's sharing a story or something along those lines. I could be wrong, but I don't know if we've got the actual, like, Tim just taking complete ownership and saying, yeah, I lied. So I don't know that Brian has really held Tim's feet to the fire. I think he's been very supportive, very kind, which again, as I mentioned, is great to have from a real friend who's going to be there and be in your corner anyway. Just on that thought that comes to mind, some people might say, well, my reactions, this is what comes to my mind right now, my reactions to Ben Roberts-Smith. Maybe I'm the guy maybe I'm the Brian in that, in terms of some of my reactions and my take in regards to the witnesses that are testifying against RS. People seem to forget that, one, RS hasn't been proven guilty or convicted of any of those allegations. Like, it hasn't even gone to trial yet. There's been some people that have come out, and I'll probably do a video to it separate, that have come out and said, oh, look, he was found guilty in his defamation case of having done those things. Oh, no, he wasn't. He wasn't found guilty of that. He just lost the defamation case based on the balance of probabilities of one man, Komover-Bazenko, who feels that it was more probable that RS did do those things than he didn't. That was based on one person's perspective, based on the evidence that he was hearing. You get 4, 5, 10, 20 other individuals be sitting in the same chair listening to the evidence, the same evidence from all sides. Maybe you get 10, 15, 20 different outcomes. Some for the defamation case whereby they'd have to pay. Some, again, going along with Komover-Bazenko. I think the key difference is, in this case here, if people say, oh, in terms of me speaking about Brian being a good friend, blah, blah, blah. The difference here is that Tim's stuff has been, from what I gather, proven to be lies. And so hence why he's felt the need to do this podcast with his friend. And as the title says, Tim Kennedy addresses every single claim. I don't know that he's addressed every single claim. It just seems like he's given justifications, dare I say excuses, for how he's worded things and framed things. In RS's case, in my reactions to those, he hasn't been convicted. He hasn't been found guilty by a jury beyond reasonable doubt. None of that has taken place yet. And as I've shared, if that happens, I'll be gutted for him, for his family, devastated. I don't know at this stage, because it hasn't happened, how much, if at all, my opinion might change of him. It probably would, I would say right now, to some degree, without knowing what that would be, until such time as the trial takes place, and until such time as beyond reasonable doubt is proven and or handed out by a jury of, what do they call it? A jury of his peers. So anyway, that's where I'm going with that, in terms of my thoughts, and that thought that just popped into my head, whereby I'm speaking about Brian defending his mate, seems like. But at the same time, he has called him out as well, and has said, you can't do that. That was, maybe he said that was stupid or something at some point. But yeah, anyway, we'll see how we go. I'll wrap this one up here. That's nearly 30 minutes. There's still about, still about 14 minutes to go in this reaction. So, excuse me, maybe there's more to this to come. So we'll see how that all pans out at the end. So if you stuck around this long, thank you very much for your time listening to me ramble on. If you've got your own thoughts and comments, if you're somebody that supports Tim Kennedy or has watched a lot of his stuff and that you believed what it was that he was talking about, feel free to whack it in the comments. If there's stuff in here, if you've read the Scars and Stripes book, which I haven't, and I'm probably never going to read, well, not probably, I'm not going to read it. Feel free to whack them in the comments as well. Has he addressed, and is he on his way to addressing all the claims from his book and or other interviews or speaking engagements that he's done over the years? Be interesting to hear. Anyway, that being said, look after yourselves, enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you on the next one.